What's up, everyone? El the Alchemist here with my great friend Arachneon that I
Good
met
evening.
in Florida on our ayahuasca retreat.
Mm.
And we're going to just kind of explain our experiences from before, after integrating it, and probably going to be off on many tangents. So, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing phenomenal right now, actually, and I'm finally excited to actually get down and do a podcast. Finally, use my microphone for once.
Yeah,
It's so long,
hey, man,
but
it's transformation, dude.
right. And one thing is going into ayahuasca, right? And this is like the whole theme going on here. I think for anyone, I think if people are finding this video, they already kind of know what ayahuasca is. But in case they don't, can you briefly discuss what is ayahuasca and what's the point of doing it?
Yeah, awesome question.
Yep.
So ayahuasca is like a Native American medical. I call it a medicine, and
Mm. Right.
they take this bark off a tree that has DMT within it, and they mix
Yes.
it with this concoction of these other ingredients that make it so it's a very psychoactive medicine that
Mm.
when you take it for myself, because everyone has had different experiences, definitely,
Right.
but for me it's very psychedelic, and you can either see things externally and inwardly as well. And for me, it was an inwardly thing. I took it for healing, and
Right.
it's kind of like you're ready to open up your closet where you've been hiding your skeletons and have
Hmm.
to look at everything and accept it. And a part of that whole thing is letting go
Right.
instead of trying to be in control of the trip. So it's just a very sacred medicine that helps you overcome your shadow and integrate
Mm.
it in your life.
I agree. Yep, that's basically exactly what it is. They do take like a bark, but I do know a lot of other like recipes will use the it's like a vine and a leaf, or it's like I know there's another vine in there too. It's two ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the bee copy vine and the something viridens leaf. It's a leaf or a bark. You might be right with the bark. Now
Mm.
the I do know that I you said Native American medicine.
Yeah.
I
That's
think I think it's actually a South American medicine. I think it comes from Peru.
it definitely does. It
Yeah,
definitely does. So
yeah,
yeah. Yabba dabba
yeah.
yikes.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if the Native Americans in like North America use it. Actually, I know they have like their own medicines, but I don't know if they ever have ayahuasca.
I think maybe that was peyote that I'm thinking
It's
about.
definitely peyote. Yes,
Yeah, that's
it's a
exactly what it
cactus.
is. Yep.
Yes. Yeah, so I just want to clarify that because I'm like, I don't like if I did enough reading on it. I just want to make sure you have the right info there.
Thank you,
Yeah,
man. And that's the
yeah,
thing too. It's all been a learning experience. I was very immersed within psilocybin and
right,
doing acid a few times. And
right.
you know, I definitely would say there's a lot of similarities with more of
Mm-hmm.
psilocybin and this,
Oh,
but
yes.
the feeling for me when I was doing only like the couple teaspoons, it was more internally for sure, but as
Mm,
I upped the dose, I realized my ideas from my mind to my mouth,
mm.
that was a little rough. I remember I saw a friend and I was like, dude, I just want to say thank you so much for all you're doing. And I was able to do lots of integration. And as I'm telling them all this, I'm realizing my mind is going about 100% and my mouth is about 50%.
Yeah,
And I remember laying
yeah.
back down like,
Yeah. Your brain's working.
yeah, the brain is
Yep.
going hard, man.
Yeah. Yep.
But
The yep. Sorry.
no problem. I just didn't know, like, when you went, what was the intent for like what pulled you to want to go to Soul Quest?
Oh, I was going to ask you the same. Well, you kind of elaborated the same thing, but I'm going to ask you the same thing. But one little piece of note to mention to the viewers. Let's just say when we mention anything about psilocybin, mushrooms, or LSD, we are not encouraging people to do it. We're just saying our experiences. Okay? Don't ban us, YouTube. Okay?
Yes, yeah, exactly. We're just
Yeah.
saying, when we are inside of a legal place to do everything,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
exactly where we did it.
Yes. And it's all in the past now. Okay.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
so it
On the
cannot be
path.
done. So it can't be done. Nothing can be done about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, you were saying about what my intention was. Well, so you have to understand where a little bit of groundwork of where I was. So where I used to be, I used to work at a hospital, actually. I've mentioned this in some of my videos before, with some relevancy to it. My literal position was a medical laboratory scientist. I literally worked in like in the laboratories of hospitals where, like, people would get like blood work done, you get the values, or like the COVID, when people got their COVID tests, and they got the results back. Well, I was the one who performed the test and got the result, and I would report that to the doctors. And I did a bunch of other things. I did go to college in order to get this job, but I think once I gave it a good stab, like 2 years, and the place I worked at was terrible. But the point of the matter is, I started to slowly look around myself, and I thought to myself, like, well, Josh, I think the thing is, you're only here for the money. I don't think you actually really like this. So I think I had to look really deep in myself, and I thought to myself, for the longest time, ever since like high school, I think, Josh, you are so caught up with being able to do things instead of because you're able to do them, but you're not focusing on what you want to do. And I thought to myself, you're right, because if you can do anything you want to. I mean, I could be if I pass the right tests, go to the right schools, I could be an astronaut if I want to.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be. So then I thought to myself, well, if what you do what you want to do, you'll be happy. I'm like, you're right. You can be happy and make money. Why can't you? So I thought to myself, okay, well, what do you want to do? And that was the hardest question ever. Like, well, I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know what I want to do. I've never really focused on it. Again, I've been only focused on ever doing what works. So I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe it's because you're just too dang conditioned. So then I thought about things. And again, as I told you, I've had experience with mushrooms and LSD, and they help expand your mind a little bit. Either what it feels like, you can have an opinion on things. It helps in some ways and makes you think, but it's not so super introspection. It's not a lot of that. And also it's hard to get. So I thought about it and I looked deeper into it. And this is a whole nother topic on its own, but like, you got to remember that my friend brought up the idea of like DMT and stuff. And I thought to myself, well, great. It's one of those very powerful, psychedelics out there. You smoke it or vaporize it. And I wasn't too thrilled with the idea of smoking that stuff because it makes you see like, it's like more intense than LSD, and it starts to make you believe aliens exist. So I'm like, I can do that another time. But I found out that DMT is a natural chemical, and it's seen in ayahuasca. Looked at what ayahuasca is and just went down the rabbit hole from there. And then I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I really probably could benefit from this, because apparently there are retreats opening up. People have reviews on it on YouTube. There are doctors that actually encourage the use of it. They show that it's very beneficial. It's actually quite effective in comparison to talking therapy sessions and self-medication. And I was like, you know what? So I quit my job because just for self-respect, pretty much. And also I want a happier life, which was a hard decision on its own, but I think made me a ton happier. And a few months later, with me just kind of relaxing my mind and really thinking of what I want to do, but still staying lost, I thought to myself, you know what? If you want to get back on a track, want to reignite your vigor, I think what you need to do is, I think you need to go here. You got to go here now. So my original intention was to actually go to Peru, because ayahuasca contains DMT, and that's illegal in the US. Well, remember, it's illegal to brew in the US, It's not like anyone doesn't do it. But I understood that, like, you're not supposed to brew ayahuasca yourself because it can be very dangerous. Drinking it could make you feel, it could actually hurt you more than help you, because you could feel so isolated and you could hurt yourself, not only physically or mentally,
Yeah.
So I thought, okay. So they always say you got to find a shaman, especially if it's your first time. So like, okay, I got money saved up. Let's go to Peru. So I start doing all the calculations, and I start saying, like, okay, I got to take the plane ride to Lima, then you go to Lima to Iquitos, then you got to get cabs to Cusco, and to go to this very credible place. And the plane ride itself is like $1,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no. And then it's not even a straight flight. Then you're going to a place that is only Spanish speaking. You got to take more connecting flights. You're going to be tired as hell. And when you get there, originally the retreat is like a week long, which is nice. but it's like originally it was like a little over $1,000, like 1,400. I checked again and now it's like 2,100.
Oh
So I'm
my.
like, oh God. So I'm like, for a week it's nice, but it's like going to be over $3,000. You're going to go to a place where you don't know much Spanish. You're going to be tired as hell. I'm like, I don't know if it's really even worth it. I'd rather just make this myself,
Yeah.
but I don't want to. It's like, it's hard to get and dangerous. And I thought to myself, oh, I overheard there was like a church or something in like the US that can serve this, but they only like to serve it to people who are part of their congregation, their church. So I looked up in like the idea, like, is there any place in the US that does it? And lo and behold, multiple places do it. There's a place in California that does it. And then there's a place in Florida that does it. And I thought to myself, oh, thank God. I don't need a passport. It's cheaper and it's, it's familiar. I'm like, this is perfect. So I finally did some comparisons. And again, it's also a lot cheaper to flight too, like even go to California or something.
Yeah.
And I did my comparisons and I came across SoulQuest in Florida. It had tons of good reviews. It had tons of personal experiences on YouTube. And I thought to myself, it was quite affordable for what you get. And you didn't have to even be there that long. So I thought to myself, yeah, let's do it. And in that moment, I thought to myself, well, you better do it now or you're never doing it at all. Or it's going to be quite some time until you do it. So I thought, okay, now's the time. We got to go now. So with the intention, I booked everything, make sure everything, planned out parking, planned out my stay, the dates and everything. And finally, that was the kind of the whole reason why I went there.
Wow, dude, that's really crazy. Because I remember you're very analytical and kind of seeing things for the practicalities. And like the fact that you even thought there's a possibility that you would take the trip all the way to Peru, dude. That's wow,
yeah,
man.
Because that was how like people were doing it, but they were going to South America, and that's also where it originates from. So you're like very authentic shamans with years of the business and the years of the practice, and so it's real. You're not going to gyp there.
Yeah.
But I was going to be committed enough to do it. But once I saw that, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to hate myself during this entire time. So just the idea that they actually had this in quite effective medicine, spoiler alert, that this is in the US, really was awesome. And I'll just say right now, I do not want big pharma. I don't want them even touching this stuff. It needs to stay right where it is.
Yeah, for sure. That's the thing too. There's the problem with today's society is doctors are prescribing things that help you when you're sick, but why are we not being taught things to prevent sickness? Or take this pill so then you can be able to get on with your day and have some self-love. It's like, dude, that's not the way it should be. We should be able to experience that within. But that's also the thing too. We're told just hide your stuff in the closet, don't speak your mind. Don't, there's so much fear enticed. And even this trip itself has taught me to be bold and to speak my mind. I mean, even that whole situation, I should have told someone I wasn't feeling well instead of sneaking off, getting in my car and trying to sneak off the property, which in the end I learned.
Wait, no spoilers, not just yet. Hold on, we'll go get to our own experience. Hold strap in, folks. Okay?
All right, sorry guys, I'm on the rocket ship.
The roller coaster is starting and the bolts are already coming off.
Oh God. I mean, when it came to my intent, it was like I said, I've experienced the psychedelics, I've experienced multiple things, but nothing could really heal that feeling of wishing I could have been someone different when my dad, those last few months of my dad's life. And actually it's the first trip I've ever taken by myself, like getting on flights, connecting flights, getting a hotel, renting out a car. First time I've ever done anything, and I was like, dang, it's adventurous. But
same here, buddy.
Wow.
Well, here's the thing. I've taken a solo trip before, but by car to Boston. But this is the first time I ever took a flight flying myself and doing the same thing you just did.
Dude.
So like flight wise,
that's crazy, actually, man. Like, and that's like the adventure behind it too. And I don't know, like prior to if you had any synchronicities that were occurring kind of pulling you to it, because I know for myself, I kept feeling that call and that hearing, and I was working with Santa Morte and Orias and both of them to help me, because that week prior to was rough for no caffeine, no cannabis or any of that. Because for myself, I had a lot, or it was like, dude, I love those things. I love them so much. But I also, realized like this isn't the way to live. You know,
Right.
if you can't just go and enjoy life and be yourself without a substance, it's one thing to enhance things on the occasion, but
Yeah.
like the body need it. I need 500 milligrams caffeine today to get through the day. You know, that whole burnout sensation was hitting me, and I knew I needed to change that. And I knew I wanted to experience the biggest thing I could for that internal healing. And man, that's what that's exactly the fire that got me going. But
I'm glad. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off there,
no,
but
don't.
like, if you're going, you're already on the subject. Is some people who want to go do ayahuasca are going to be recommended with the dieta. So it's going off of that. There, you were mentioning that. What was your for people who don't know, the dieta is like a recommendation to change your diet so that your body kind of cleans itself out and is kind of at a nice standard, kind of back to basics, kind of so the medicine can work effectively. So you got to eat really clean, like no spices, like no, as you were mentioning, no caffeine, no interfering substances like marijuana or any other recreational drugs of any kind, even like even medicinal drugs. They ask you not to do for risk of, death.
Yeah, exactly.
But you were going off that and saying, what did you do for your diet?
So I did my absolute best to keep it as vegetarian as possible. I did have white meat,
Okay.
that week of a couple days before.
Right.
But yeah, during like the last couple days, I was doing my best to just fast and just like oatmeal and then some fruits. But that day of, it was basically a 24-hour fast, other than I had a couple dried pieces of fruit. But I didn't
good.
want anything else in my system. And like I said, the caffeine part was really, really the rough part. I mean, getting a migraine and all that, like that was all part of the integration with everything. But it was pretty
Were you
clean.
getting a migraine because of the lack of caffeine?
It was like a caffeine. It was the stress of my first flight and stuff by myself. It was the pressurized cabin when I do that, as well as the lack of food and all that. Right. It was, and that's something too. I found out on my flight home, I got zero sleep because I was so sunburned the night before. Classic. But the thing is I didn't get a headache or anything. I was totally fine. And so I realized, because there's one other time I flew out to Cali with my brother, and I got a migraine then, but it's because when you're stressed and then you go through everything, it's different from just being tired. Because I don't know about you, but throughout that whole weekend and even a couple days after it, I literally like only had like maybe like 2 hours of sleep a night. And even one of the nights I got zero sleep, and I was so joyous, had energy.
Wonderful.
Pumped up I could talk with anything, and I didn't feel the need for any caffeine and all that. And like when I eventually did go back to caffeine, I just had like a half a cup of black coffee, and like I was like, dang, I am tingling everywhere right now. Like, holy smokes, like this is what I've been on like a lot. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But what about you? What was your diet?
My diet was kind of similar. I was trying really hard because the thing that got me is I'm a junkie for spicy food. I love capsaicin. Let's just say that. I love jalapenos. I love hot sauce. So it's like they said, like, you can't have that. It's like it irritates the stomach. So it irritates the gut. So like, all right, it's only good for me too. But I'm like, so like I'll use like lighter spices like cinnamon and like cayenne and stuff like that. So stuff that's not like rich and like makes your mouth feel on fire,
Yeah.
So like I'll do that because that's kind of lowering me still to a standard. So what I mostly did was in the morning, I'm not as big as a person on caffeine. I like to have my coffee in the morning just because I like the taste.
Oh, nice.
And also I like the taste, but also the caffeine is nice. I don't drink anything obscene, like high in caffeine. But what I did was just in general, I didn't have to change much of my breakfast. I ate just Cheerios in the morning. But I ate cinnamon and maple Cheerios because it's just a light amount of sugar and just oats. Another thing they recommend with the dieta too is not a lot of sugar, but I was doing pretty good with that either too. And with my coffee, what I did was, have you ever heard of mushroom coffee?
I actually have, and I was really interested in learning more about. I heard about mud water. Is there something like that?
Yes. That's how I learned about the mushroom coffee, was the mud water.
Oh,
So I
okay.
bought some of that mushroom coffee. Actually, it's made with like Reiki and lion's mane mushrooms. It's just a bunch of mushrooms. And actually, when I prepared a certain way with like boiled milk, I'm like, it actually just tastes like a latte, but it's not like a massive caffeine spike. I'm like, this is like, yeah. So I just kept drinking that. It kind of gives me this it gives me this coffee like satisfaction with the taste. Feels like I'm drinking my coffee, but I didn't feel wired or anything, at least for me. And lion's mane's good for the head too. So that was healthy.
Oh, yeah. That's one thing that actually interested me in particularly. The your mind with lion's mane, that was the one ingredient I was like, dang, that makes you have more clarity and vision and such.
Right.
And I was in the fog for the longest time. Like, I can be social and that's no problem, but
Yeah.
it's the laying things out internally, externally, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, oh,
Right.
did someone play the trap card Fog?
Yeah, I understand. Well, another thing with we saying fog that reminds me is like another big thing is, again, like no marijuana or anything.
Yeah.
And over the last year is like, I know marijuana makes me feel very mind fogged, especially the next day after using it.
Yeah.
So like over the last year, I've definitely used marijuana in my past. But over the last year, my tolerance for it went really, really down. Like, I only take like one good drag, and I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm feeling it. I don't know what it is. I used to be able to take like, the standard like bowl size of of
Yeah.
marijuana. I can't do that. That destroys me. So I'm like, okay, well, kind of a good thing, because it means I don't have to use as much to get the same effect. But still,
Yeah.
it kind of just eventually started to make me feel like, I can't keep doing this. It's going to become a habit, and I just got into a healthy habit of not using it.
Yes.
What I said, like, I think the thing is, I hadn't used marijuana since we went to Soul Quest in early April, and I hadn't used marijuana since January. So I was more than fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That's awesome, actually.
Yeah, I had this list. I realized it was affecting me, and I have to like slowly get off it. It's like, you don't gotta cut cold turkey, but just you gotta treat it a little more respectfully.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's
Yeah.
the big thing I've found out in my life is the moderation.
Yeah.
And if you have to, like, if you're, oh my gosh, I have to do it before the start of my day, kind of make
Yeah.
sure I have it at the end of my day. Like, that's when it definitely becomes an issue, because then your emotional integrity is definitely frayed, because you're too dependent on something, and then you can get aggravated quicker and all these other things. And like that whole week prior to the ayahuasca experience, the person I had become, I felt like I was getting this purple ball. That's the only way I can describe it. My essence, my full on soul. It's like I've been 90% of my spirit, but that last 100% came flying back in. And I mean, even after the retreat, I ended up keeping myself pretty good. And then one day I came across it and I did it. And it definitely put me in a little bit of a fog. And I realized how much more I enjoy being in the moment. Like, hanging out with my buddy, I thought, all right, man, we're down here. This stuff's legal, everything else.
Right.
We're going to just have a hoot and a holler. But after the retreat, him and I both were like, dude, I don't even care. Like, this is ridiculous. And like, I was going out of my way to talk to people. And we were yelling like in front of the whole beach. I meant not the whole beach, this pool. Anyone want these pineapples? We definitely don't need them. Anyone's welcome to them. I hope you're all doing great. And
you just had pineapples to get away?
Yeah, well, it turned out the hotel room we got was, I mean, it was a great place down the, like, right next to the beach. But the problem is all they gave you was like a microwave on a small fridge. There's no oven or utensils.
Okay.
So we got a lot of food, but then we just started kind of like passing stuff out. And then there was gummies for sale down there, and we bought them. And then next thing you know, I'm going up to random groups of people just passing out gummies. Like, dude, where I went, and I'm not going to say it on here because I don't want the freedom to be taken away. Sure. But dude, where I went to down there, it was rule free. I was waking up smelling cannabis. I was walking around and people are drinking alcohol. It's like, do not bring alcohol into the hot tub. It might as well have said, come in here and bring all your alcohol and anything else you want, because it was a rule free. And there were snakes around and lizards around, and it was super crazy. But
nuts.
Yeah, it was really cool. But I definitely had that reflection. And, this last weekend I was kind of, I didn't really like go hard or anything, but I got to celebrate a little bit with one of my people I'm creating the show with, and it's definitely put me like I had a little bit of fog. Like even today, I'm still have like a little fog, and I'm like, you know what? That's okay. But
Mhm.
my clarity is just gonna come back in 2
Right.
days, and that joy is in here now. Though, like I don't have that weight on me, and actually, this is the perfect way to go into your day one. I would love to hear how
Oh,
your first experience was on your, you know what, you go first. You tell me from
oh,
your first experience to your third night, just kind of your process and
oh,
transformation.
the whole process. Well,
Yeah.
I kind of ironic you're asking me to go first here. Is well, I can talk on and on and on because I've made a lot of connections here. I actually would rather have you go first, just so I ensure that you get a place here.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Sometimes
man.
I do trail on and on, so I want to make sure there's time.
Hey, I love that fact, and I love this conversation. Like I said, like dude,
Likewise.
when I walked out on that third day, walking out of the bathroom, and you and I just I don't know how long we were talking, dude. But like
Uh,
that literally could have went on forever. Like, and then
oh
that
yeah.
lady walks by and she says, "What you guys are talking about? I'm loving it." I'm like, vibes are tremendous.
Yes, everyone, that was the thing, that was the beauty of the last day. It was like everyone had a sense of community, like everyone had their own journey, but
Yes.
everyone understood what that journey was in a weird way.
Exactly, dude. You know, that first night, you know, they said by the end of this, you're gonna all feel family.
Yeah.
And I definitely, whew, man, oh man.
Yeah.
So that first night for me arriving, as I was mentioning earlier, I had that
Mhm.
migraine. And
Mhm.
so during the ceremonies and stuff, I was actually just like, when everyone was integrating and talking, I was just looking for the doctor. As soon as he introduced himself there, because on the place, which was beautiful, they have people who are paramedic, like certified, especially with ayahuasca, because
Right.
you know, if you had the ambulance roll up, they'd be like, yeah, they don't know what to do. So they
Yes.
actually had this really powerful like water with these minerals and stuff that really help out when you're going through those detoxing. So I
Right.
kept going to them to get this drink over and over, just so I kept my,
Right.
inside the best it could. But the headache just got worse and worse, and I ended up asking if I could leave and come back the next day. And they said if I do that, I'm gonna have to go through all these different processes. And I'm like, okay. So they gave me a sleep mask, and they said you can lay down now. So I
Mm.
actually went and straight laid down to the
Okay.
point like my head just was throbbing. And eventually people came in. Eventually everyone started their ceremony and did everything together. And not till like 30 minutes till everyone started it. I was like, you know what? Maybe this is gonna get rid of my headache. So I ended up taking it and drinking it myself. And about 2 hours later, my headache was still there really bad.
Mm.
And I was like, you know what? I'll do a second dose, see if that helps out. And I did the
Oh,
second dose.
what was your dosage?
The first time they just gave me the 1 teaspoon. And then
The
the second,
tablespoon.
yeah, the tablespoon. And
Yeah.
then, thank you. See,
It,
dude, you were
it,
so analytical. I love it so much,
I
bro.
want to make sure, because a lot of people get really freaked out and they're so in the dark about this stuff. I want to make sure people have, they know what they're getting. So like,
Yes.
oh, I'm only gonna get a teaspoon. It's like, no, here's a tablespoon. That's 3 times the amount. It's like, whoa, what? But the guy on the YouTube said 1 teaspoon.
Oh,
Like no. One little thing just before you continue is
yeah.
just this for the people out there. When you're mentioning like the EMS and like the people with the ambulance and stuff, okay, the Soul Quest has been around for like years. At the retreat, me included, there was 90 people, 90 participants. So this place is really popular, and people, it gets like 4 or 5 stars at minimum.
Mm-hmm.
This place, so it's highly credible, and they do a great job, as you and I can contribute to.
100%.
Um, the thing is, when people mention, even they mentioned this too, out of all those years, and they do this like every weekend too, like 90 something participants every weekend, and they've been doing this for years, and they said I think there've only been 2 hospital visits out of all of those people. And
Mm.
the only reason those 2 hospital visits happened was because people lied on their form about the drugs they were taking.
Yeah.
It was like blood pressure medication and stuff like that. So yes, if you do, the only thing you have to fear about death or dying is if you are lying about the stuff you're taking.
Yes.
That's the only thing you have to worry about. Otherwise, it's intense, but trust me, it's not a problem.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, looking at your shadow self, integrating it, that can be definitely rough, but you know, it is healing. And that was the thing too. I was like, you know, as long as I follow the diet, I'm gonna be totally good, you know. And that's exactly why you have to put in the time beforehand, because it's not just a week, you know, showing up for a weekend and then transformation. It's like, no, there's that week before, a week after. Transformation. Some ninjutsu, you know, about to
boom. Exactly. But to get you back on track, you were mentioning that you took the tablespoon, then you went for your booster.
Yep, and I did a booster, and I don't know how much was in the booster at that point because I didn't. I just said, "Can I get some more?" And
okay.
So I did that, and I was still sitting there, and it was just so much pain, and all I could think to myself was, this is getting bad. Like, the guy next to me is snoring, what's really funny about that is every trip I would go on growing up, my dad would be snoring, and the goal on every trip at night was fall asleep before he starts snoring, and I failed every time. So
the irony of that, my father does the same thing, but I had the luxury of him being in another room.
Oh
yeah,
that's awesome.
My mother's the one who suffers that. Yeah.
Well, the guy literally right next to me was snoring, and they said that they would come and like have them taken out, but I ended up finding out that night they felt like they didn't feel like they were called to, which in the end caused me to have the whole situation I'm about to say happen. And so it hits about, I'm assuming, but then again, the time itself does not exist once you're in that realm.
Oh yeah, when you don't have your phone on you, which you shouldn't have, it's not even something to consider.
Yeah, exactly. It's like 100 years. Oh, it was an hour. And so it got so bad to the point where I was like, I'm getting out of here. This is too much. I am getting out. So I started packing things, but I was watching everyone going around, so they didn't see what I was doing. And then I ended up... You
were really sneaky if no one noticed.
Well, yeah, dude, I was doing it inch by inch, and then I was waiting till they'd like walk by and do all this stuff. Like, I'm over here acting like a Splinter Cell, and I'm like, I'm getting out of here, okay? And I right when I felt like the time was right, I got up, grabbed my bag, and I put it in front of me, walked around, walked past people, and then the cars are kind of far away.
Right.
So I'm going down there, and I was trying to be as quiet as possible, and I saw someone like in their car, so I was ducking behind a car and waiting till they left, and then as soon as I unlocked my car, I unlocked it and jumped in, because my mindset was, I don't care how much money I spend. I'm getting my life clean. I'm getting my life together. I'm tired of this pain, and that's all that matters. And so I'm driving down, going up, and then I'm going through, and I eventually think I'm about to get out of here, and then there's a gate. And as soon as I saw the gate, that's when my heart stopped. And then all of a sudden I see Brandon and a couple others showing up behind me, and I'm like, this is horrible. Oh no.
Did you feel like they were like a cult? Like, no. Hotel California shit.
The
like,
Hotel
you can come, but you can never leave.
Exactly, dude. Well, I was like, dude, this is not good. And so I just tried to explain my situation. And the thing about it is, they were so kind and so much love.
Right.
And one of the things Brandon was telling me was, this is a part of your journey. This is supposed to happen. And you don't be upset. Like, you can leave at 5 a.m. We have to just make sure you check out with the doctor. We can't have the liability of you out on the road. We can't, because we don't want anything bad to happen to this whole entire soul quest.
And you too.
And me too, of course. But I'm just thinking to myself, for them to come at that angle and then say, look, we can get you inside on the couch. We'll get you away from people. It's no problem at all.
Oh,
dude, it really just showed the love and compassion and the understanding, and it blew my mind. And I'm like, okay. And then
like, people actually cared for a complete stranger.
Exactly. And it's not about the money, this, that, or the other. It's literally, we care about you so much, and we care about all the people here to continue this process for people to do. And they're like, yeah, we can move your car, we'll move it back for you. And I just said, well, things I said I can't say on air here. But I'm like, I got it.
You can say it, we'll just bleep it out.
Yeah. Long story short, I've driven under circumstances that I shouldn't have driven before. I'll be fine. So I got the reverse it. I got it back there. I went to sleep on the couch, and I ended up finding out a couple other people actually were going in and out of this area, and they were kind of going through their own thing. Like, one person just wasn't feeling well. Another person just felt like they needed to sleep somewhere else too. And I thought I was going to leave in the morning, and I wake up at 8, and no one came up to me and said, hey, are you good to go? And I'm like, well, this is weird, but my migraine's gone. So I ended up going out to the forest, and everyone was doing yoga. And that's when I started to do the yoga too, and for daytime ceremony.
Hey, I want to interrupt you. I just had an idea while you were talking about this. I want to do a fun little form organization here. So that was your first ceremony you just talked about, right?
Yes. Yep.
Now I'm going to talk about my first ceremony, because it's kind of like they happened in real time.
Yes.
What was happening? What was happening to me? What that was happening to you?
Yes.
Then I'll go back to you.
Perfect.
Yeah. Then what was happening in your daytime? I'll talk about my daytime, because that will be like, what was the two different perspectives? What was going on here? You know,
dude, that's Josh. You are incredible. I love you, bro. Please.
Thank you so much. Oh, but the important thing before I start on my first ceremony, did you void it all? Vomit, sweat, cry?
That was it. The first, right before I left to get in my car, I just felt the pain, and it was the only time I threw up the whole time. And I was like, okay, it's time to throw up. And I let it all out, and I couldn't believe how it was just like a one session of and then it was done. You know, it wasn't like a bleh, and then sit up. It was but all at once.
Wow.
And then when Brandon walks by, he grabbed it, and it was like, whatever that was in you, it's out now. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But then it was just, I was so hyper focused on the headache. So
very nice. Very nice. And you said the next morning the headache was gone?
Completely gone.
Oh,
and
interesting.
That's where I was like, what? And I only got like 5 hours of sleep, but it was an eternity of sleep.
Really, all of us only got like around like maybe 2 to 8 hours of sleep, in that range. Like, it was just enough sleep, and that was it.
Yeah,
a power nap, and that's really it.
But it, you know, like, and I realized this, like, when we used to go on retreats in like high school and college, you wouldn't get much sleep on retreats, but it's the people's energy around you that literally make you like, dude, I don't need sleep. What are you talking sleep? I'm hyped up on just like energy, life, like, holy crap. And then integration. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But what happened to you that first night?
Okay. Well, I'll lead up here and say that I arrive at the airport. I get one of the cabs from their service. They by the way, with SoulQuest, contact them about cabs, because they'll pay you like a discount, like cab service from the airport for like $30. Yeah. It's like $20 cheaper than a standard cab. So saves you. They really are will acquaint you to make it easy for you to get there. So I get in, check in, and one of the first things I'm looking around the grounds here. Oh, cool little detail. When you do your ceremony, we're in like these little wooden, like I don't know what you call them, little small wooden houses, you could say. They're called like
kind of house.
Yeah. I was in a place called the Village, which was more like back where the parking lot was. Here or whatever. I can't do it with my webcam right here, but like in where the parking lot was. And I believe you were more near we're towards the lobby area.
Yep. I was right there inside of the Lotus, right next to the fire.
Okay. So you were more near like where the lunch is served and stuff, right?
Yep.
Okay. So this is interesting because we have way two different perspectives on opposite ends of each other.
Yeah. And I was actually wondering, did you guys have doors, or was it just wide open?
It was wide open.
Oh my gosh, dude.
We had plenty of blankets. Don't worry.
Wow.
It was a cold night that night, but it was nice in the end. But anyway, the thing is, I get there, and one of the first impressions is you go through the thing, you check in, you make the final payments. They want to ask you, like, you're clean, you got off marijuana, or you're not any medicinal drugs. And of course I am. Good diet, whatever. And just letting you know, folks, is that like they've said that like if you don't have a good diet, it's not like it's not going to work. It's just you're not going to get them highest of benefit from it, because
Yeah.
the guys there said like he's had people who have eaten Wendy's and it still worked for them. You know it before. So just do what you can. But anyway, so a person shows me around the grounds. It's not that big, but it's a very nice place.
Yeah.
And one of the first things I'm a little worried about is because is I notice a kind of a lot of the mentality of the staff members there is it kind of has this very like stereotypical hippie kind of thing going on with it. Well, it's like, oh hey man, hey brosif, you know, kind of stuff. And I'm like, hey, hello. Like I don't hate that or anything. It's just I don't associate because it's just not my way of life. So I'm like, oh no. And I think to myself, like, this is a very medicinal, powerful or drug. So I think to myself, oh no, don't turn me into like this now. You know, not like it's so much bad, but it's more or less like it's a very different way of life.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to be some kind of hive mind or something, you know, like my brain's not a plant or something. You know, so that was like one of the first worries I had. But you know, people were kind of doing their own thing. People were kind of in my same boat too, where you know, of the whole 90 people, I think like 75% of them were first timers, and then the rest were people coming back. Before the ceremony starts, we get into like this one big maloka that can fit everyone, and they kind of just like they do a ceremonial ceremony where they like everyone stand up, think about your intentions, you know, stand towards the east, the north, the south, the west, and they'll enchant something and what have you. And it's kind of just a form of sharing and saying why you're here and remembering why you're here. When we were there, they asked us to say a word that came to our heads as to why we were here. Do you remember what yours was?
Yes, mine was grateful.
Grateful. That was a common one actually, and yeah, then I can't understand why. Because why were you grateful?
You know, I was grateful that I mean, I had a headache, but I was grateful that I got there and I was able to, you know, accomplish the mission of arrival and not having a flight delay, being able to have the time off, and, you know, just being safe, you know, honestly, just really grateful.
Oh, wonderful. That just a brief detail on my trip when I took my I have a direct flight from where I am to Orlando, and I got there at a really good time. Like there was like 1 hour until we board. I'm like, perfect. Guess what? A maintenance issue happens when I land, and we got delayed 4 hours. I'm like, no, I planned everything. And I'm like, now I gotta wait here. And I remember I didn't eat much that morning. I'm like, here, just have a bowl of Cheerios, have your mushroom coffee, and we'll just go there because we'll board like as soon as we get there. Of course, then like 2 hours, then 3 hours go by, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm getting really hungry.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be starving. I know, like, listen, it's just don't eat like, you know, whatever it is, like 1 hour before doing ayahuasca, but you got to eat something. So like I luckily went to a place and had a really good like veggie omelet with like a bunch of potatoes and stuff, and I'm very grateful I did that because I would have been starving the entire time. But the thing is, I eventually got there, and when we finally got to where we were sharing our words, I thought to myself, well, with all my strength and all of my conviction and all of my willingness to go through and plan all this, a word, I do struggle with meditation. I really do, because my mind is constantly going in different directions.
Yeah.
I have ADHD, so it's kind of a blessing and a curse.
Hey, I got it too, brother. So
oh really? Do you have an attentive type, or?
Mine's more of not only can I jump topic to topic, but mine's more of an energetic to where I'm like,
oh, I see, fidgety.
Yeah, which you know, I love it.
Yeah.
Because it's a blessing when I'm in the gym, when I go on a run, when I go to dance places.
Right.
You know, not so much when I'm supposed to sit there quietly, but that's the thing. I actually have a 20-minute like meditation in the morning, like that breathing exercise that went off.
Yeah.
And then you know, patting my body to wake it up. And that definitely helps me solidify my intention for the day. So then it's like I don't really care so much about if my mind wanders or this, that, and the other, because I'm like, I got my intent done for the day. I know what I want to get accomplished. Just make the follow through. But that's also why it's like, calm down the caffeine, bro. You know what I mean? It's like you're already going wild. And that's something too. I was like, dude, I have so much energy without caffeine. Do I really need it?
Yeah, exactly. You've already got your minds organized. You don't need that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a little bit to kind of satiate you, but like don't go crazy.
Yeah, 100%.
Ironically, I have the ADHD like inattentive type, where like my mind will wander, but it's like mostly like daydreaming, mostly, where I'll be like, oh yeah, it sounds good. And it
Yeah.
goes somewhere else. And I'm constantly thinking, I'm thinking of different things, but it's like kind of a psychedelic kind of feeling, or it is a meditative kind of feeling. But instead of letting the thoughts pass, I actually focus on them. So that's why meditation is a little difficult for me, because I tend to focus on what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Because it lets me, it makes me think. But anyway, when I was there though and thinking of the words, a word didn't really come to my mind, and it's just like, well, it's not like I think too much. I like knowing my thoughts, and I'm comfortable with that. So I really just said why I was there, and I said motivation. Like, I'm just motivated to be there, like, am I
Yeah.
motivated? I'm motivated to help myself. Let's do it, So they kind of then cut it there. They, all of us leave. Oh, by the way, they say this in the brochure, or when you check in to actually go to this place, bring a water bottle. It's gonna be your friend. You're gonna
Yeah.
want it. The now the thing is, then we go to the first ceremony. Okay, so this first ceremony is around like 8 p.m. I'm in the village, and okay, we all assemble. They all kind of do like this burning the sage. They go in a circle around a campfire. Again, keep thinking of your intentions, and then they finally bring out the medicine. And now we had different people do this. Can I ask you something? So, they come, they bring the medicine, they bless it. Now when I saw, I think it was Carlos who did it. He has this rolled up like tobacco cigarette, like it's made of rapé, like the grandfather of tobacco. Yeah. And he takes a puff, he's smoking it, blows it up, down, left, right, doing the whole like breath work thing to push his breath on things, and then he blesses the medicine. But I will be honest, and it's not meant to be disrespectful, but there's something that happened that almost made me bust out laughing in tears. And do you know what I'm talking about? They did when they were blessing, did they pull out a certain instrument?
I just remember like a long thing that they were using going around, but I think it was like an incense burner, so I'm not sure.
Like when they were blessing the medicine before he took it, did they play an instrument like on the like the bless the medicine?
No, not where we were at.
They did it for me, and it's not meant to be disrespectful, but you have to understand that the build up to this point, like, here it is. It's very ceremonial. We have the entire process. It's like, this is one of the most powerful psychedelics out there. You come all the way from the north, all the way to this place alone. You've paid this amount of money. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. You're about to take the medicine, and we're really being methodical about our spiritual process. And they finally brings out an instrument. Can you guess? Can you give me a guess?
I want to say a trumpet, but that's a flute?
Not a trumpet. It should be a flute, but it's not.
A gong?
I wish it was. It was a harmonica.
Oh my gosh, dude.
He pulls out this harmonica, and I'm like, and I just thought to myself, don't do what I think you're gonna do. And then he just puts it to his lips. I'm like, he's playing this harmonica as like a sacred instrument. And I'm like, I can't take this seriously. And I'm standing right in front of him too. I'm like, don't laugh. Do not laugh. Because a harmonica is such a dinky little like dollar store instrument that you're treating like this.
No.
And it's like, it should be like a pan flute or like a didgeridoo or something. It's like pulling out like a kazoo and like
kazoo right before.
For this sacred rite of passage, like, like I can't. It's so cartoonish.
Oh god.
But he's like really putting it into it. And I'm like, this is like a Monty Python skit. I can't. I'm like biting the inside of my cheek so hard about to like create blood, just trying to like create pain so I can focus on something else than laughing.
Oh my god,
dude. It's not meant to be disrespectful. It's just why. But anyway, that was the one part I almost lost it. But the thing is, okay, so finally they're dishing out the medicine. So for first timers, they say do 1 tablespoon. You should always do 1 tablespoon because to help you ease into it. Sometimes you can be sensitive. Some people only need 1 tablespoon. Yeah. So I take the tablespoon, they give you a little shot glass, you go back to your little bunk and you sit there and you wait for everyone to get their medicine so you can all take it at the same time. Now I gotta ask your opinion. Describe to me what the taste of this is like.
Okay, so I'm thinking of I'm thinking of like black licorice.
Okay.
With the consistency of maple syrup.
Okay.
With the aftertaste of cough syrup.
I get that. I get that. Like very earthy, very like gunky. Not like, not like, like pockets or anything in it, but yeah, it's molassesy kind of, and then it's got this
Yes.
very bitter, dirty kind of dirt kind of taste. What I would describe it is like, do you've had cherry barbecue sauce, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like take like cherry barbecue sauce, like the taste and it has like the consistency of barbecue sauce. Like it's thick, but it clearly can be poured.
Yes.
And it's like, imagine if you put cocoa powder in it and you boiled it until the cocoa powder burned.
Yeah.
It's so deep and earthy that I'm like, yeah, it tastes kind of cocoa-y. Like, but I'm like, but it goes down like cough syrup. It's like, it's not terrible, but it makes you gag a little. And it's like, okay.
There was definitely that. I'll tell you on the third night what ended up happening with that stuff, but I definitely would say it had the consistency, and it definitely made your stomach feel a certain way. I mean, like I said, like when it comes to like the psilocybin and doing that, it kind of reminded me of that type of feeling.
Yeah.
But if you feel like you have to puke, like puke, don't just, I'm gonna hold this in, that's not gonna be the play.
Oh, well, actually, I'm going to go off that idea actually, and then carry on into what happened with me on the first ceremony here is that, so we all drink down, you wash out your shot glass, you drink down the rest, and you wait. And then they start playing the Icaros, like the drum beats and the meditation music, and which was actually, they had some really solid mixes. I'm going to be honest.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I'll be honest. Like it wasn't all just home and this like binaural beat stuff. It was like actually there's like drum beats and like native chanting and stuff. Like this is actually good. I would listen to this ordinarily.
Yeah, there was like kind of like the Hindu taught language and stuff, like Shanti, like Om Shanti Om.
Yeah.
And then Om Shiva. Dude, there were some songs that would put you in a place and you're like, wow.
Exactly.
Wow. All right. I just got the chills thinking of one.
Like, yeah. No, right after, I actually on the ride back to the airport when I left, I actually asked, like, can you send me the Spotify playlist, please? Because I want to go through these while I'm on my plane ride and like really weed out the ones that really spoke to me. And I actually do listen to them from every now and again.
Gosh, it definitely makes me emotional. That's the thing. That's why I'm like, it's a little. I just played it, like I said before we started the call. I was like, oh my gosh, dude! I literally could just cry with like the biggest smile on my face. Like
it brings you back.
Yeah, I love it. I just love it.
Yeah. When I was in the airport, I had to be careful because I was like, I want to find those music. I want to find the music. And when I listened, I'm like, found it. And I would listen to it. I'm like, I'm tearing up. I'm tearing up in the airport right now. I gotta stop. I'm like, but I kind of like, I don't care. I'm a human being. I can cry if I want to.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you all the rest around you have to deal with me if you want to. But what's gonna happen if I'm crying? What's gonna happen to you? Nothing. So let me cry. Thank you.
Exactly. And you know what? It's tears of joy. That's really what it is.
It was tears of like, I've never felt so. I don't think I've ever cried of the premise of something that is beautiful. And I was like, wow. It was such a new, invigorated feeling. Oh, but before I go into that, that's like the last day here is, so what happened was I took down the first tablespoon and I lay there in the meditative position, kind of ready to sit there. Again, as I said, I don't do well with meditation or being in a meditative stance. That definitely plays a lot more into the morning ceremony as well. But I'm listening to the music. They hand out eye masks. I put it on because darkness helps you really envision a lot better. And I do that to really heighten everything. But probably around like an hour, 2 hours, I'm not really getting much. I'm like, I'm feeling something, it reminds me of a psychedelic. It's just like my perception's a little altered. I'm a little dissociated. You have a little calm, and I have a little bit of a nausea, a little bit of queasiness in my stomach, but not enough to really, if I wanted to vomit, I could, but I'd have to coax it out. And I'm like, on the way there, a guy told me that if you're going to vomit, your body will vomit. If you're feeling nauseous, you could always coax out a vomit, but it doesn't mean your body's ready. If it's really coming up and it's very obvious, let it, it's ready. It's time. So let it come a little more naturally. Don't do it all on your decision. So finally, about like whatever it was, 2 hours in, they say, okay, second cup, booster, if you want it. And I thought to myself, well, yeah, I stood right up. I'm like, yeah, I need another booster. Give me it. But again, do I want to go crazy? Because if I'm not feeling it now, maybe I'll have a slow metabolism. Maybe it's in the next 15 minutes, it's instead of it, hey, give me a handshake, it's going to slap me in the face,
Yeah.
Maybe punch me in the face even, I'm like, I don't want that. So I just took one more tablespoon just to double the dose. So I'm like, that's fair. So took the dose, went back down, sat down, and I laid down. And again, just listening to it, thinking to myself, okay, intention, don't have expectations, meditate. What is meditating? And I thought and I'm like, okay, just let it be, man. Let's see what happens. I'm supposed to be seeing like vines and stuff. And like, well, I'm not, well, that would be an expectation, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't have expectations. But am I going to see it? Well, we'll see. Okay, what's it going to happen? And that's where my mind was racing. I was just expecting something, I guess, visual especially. But eventually what I felt was I was laying down and I felt that nausea in my body slowly getting a little more powerful. And I thought to myself, I know what throwing up feels like, and I feel like I could definitely do it. I'm like, oh, if you keep focusing on, and then you got to remember, there's people now throwing up around me. So now all I'm hearing is, and I'm like, that's only giving me this guttural. And I'm like, oh no, you guys are not helping. It's like, and I thought to myself, okay, Josh, it's bound to happen. So I think get ready for it. And I'm like, if you don't sit up right now, you're going to vomit on yourself. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I sit up. It wasn't just like a rapid, like, oh, like this, like, it's not super quick, but I definitely got up from a resting position. And I think it was a little too fast. So I get the puke bucket, get ready. And I thought to myself, okay, hold it there. If it happens, it happens. Eventually it gets to a point where my body almost felt like it was saying, you can puke now, yes or no. And I was like, if you're giving me the option, I'm going to say yes. I think it's bound to happen. So I thought, let it happen. So first dry heave, like nothing. And I thought to myself, but it started, that was like the catalyst. It started the domino effect.
Yeah.
And I was like, and here comes something else. And I'm like, and I vomit a little bit, not a ton. It's like something came out. Okay, do one more time. Yeah, I can definitely tell there's something else there. That was probably the biggest one. It's only be a little bit less and less from here on out. Okay, just let it go. But while this is happening, you got to remember, I stood up a little too quickly. So I feel like the blood was kind of slowly was leaving my head a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting like lightheaded. I'm vomiting. I'm on ayahuasca and people around me are like laughing and stuff. And I'm thinking to myself like, oh my God. I'm like, this isn't funny. This isn't funny at all. Stop laughing. And I'm like, they're not laughing at you, man. Just finish what you're doing. And eventually I got to the point where like I was like, okay, you could keep vomiting, but I don't think there's anything else. I think you're just going to dry heave from here on out. So I'm like, I think you're good. And on top of that though, but I felt really scared. I felt like to myself with my blood leaving my head, I thought to myself, like, I just thought in my head, and I think I whispered it too, is like, please, I don't want to die. Don't let me die here. And I meant like die, like physically, like don't want to pass out. I don't want to, go unconscious here. Okay. That's not what I came here for. And I thought to myself, you're done. Keep it by you. Lay down. And I did. I'm like, it's going to go away. Your blood's going to circulate again. You're going to be fine. Okay. But I didn't like how it felt. But very soon, like probably a minute later, I felt so blissful. Like I felt like I was supposed to lay down and I felt this warmth just flow over me and it stayed. And I just felt like, stay right there. Stay right there. You if something comes to you, it comes to you, but I think you just need a rest right now. And I really just stayed right there. It felt like I was back like when I was, I want to say infantile, but it felt like when you were a child and you just didn't have to worry about anything. And it felt very warm. Like you had a bed and you had nothing else to really look forward to, but just enjoyment. And I thought to myself, yeah, just bask in this moment, So while I was, I eventually at that point I said like, well, if you want to fall asleep if you want to, but if anything else happens, it's great. So that's really just kind of how the rest happened. I felt like the first ceremony was just kind of like an initiation ceremony, like, like this is what it's like. All right, now So going here on out, judge yourself and figure out what you need. So like, okay, gotcha. And I woke up the next day to a commotion and I was like, okay, what's happening? Because the itinerary is so lax, like they have time frames and everything, but I'm just doing what everyone else is doing because it's just easier that way. And I woke up and I was like completely sober. I was like, I don't feel anything. I don't feel the ayahuasca's effect at all. My head feels pretty good. I feel a little calmer, but and I look back at how I felt and I thought to myself, like, you weren't going to die. You weren't going to die. You were fine. I think you were just kind of freaking out and there's probably some issue with blood circulation. I'm like, okay, fine, cool. Okay. And then this leads, and then what happened with you is you saw the yoga. So, I mean, everyone's getting their blankets, and I went to the yoga, brought the water bottle, and we were doing the stretching and what have you, because it's just generally good for you.
Yeah.
And then right after, if you pay for it, which I recommend anyone to do, is the morning ceremony. Now, back to your perspective.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So after that yoga, I definitely felt more uh connected to the group. You know,
Okay.
I definitely felt that more. And when we started that second session, I ended up having a mat that I brought over, and me and my buddy were sitting next to each other. And I met him when I was at the airport
Oh,
during a connected flight, and I heard someone just say the word ayahuasca, and I was like, I'm going to talk to whoever this is.
oh,
And
lucky
then the
you.
guy, he said, hey, I'm going to be down there, man. And
Oh,
cool. So him and I kind of built a rapport. So then we weren't inside the same thing, same place, but when we'd see each other, you know, we'd have conversation and talk, and he's really awesome. So him and I sat next to each other, which felt really good because I'm like, wow, I kind of have a rapport with him. This is gonna be good. And then the guys, like, we were out by the outer perimeter by the forest. So if you just turned around, you just see the forest.
right.
So that one was just so beautiful because it was a nice sunny day. You know, it's kind of like you got your initiation done. And for me, I'm thinking to myself, look, if yesterday went how it went, and the fact I get to take this now and I have sleep in my system, like, I'm golden. I'm the golden goose right here. So let's
Right.
hop aboard. So when I went up, I did, I believe I think it was only 2 tablespoons.
I
I
did
did
the same
this.
thing.
Yeah, 2 tablespoons, because my buddy, he said he did 2 1/4, and I'm like, wow, out
Yeah.
here really shining, bro.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I felt like 2 tablespoons. Like if I had an effect with one and then one with a booster, it's like two has to be a minimum for me. You know?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so when I did that, I after about 30 minutes, it definitely hit me. I didn't feel sick. I actually felt the fact that we were outside and I could just sit up and I'm in a forest. It was just it was just a perfect synergy of everything I could have asked for
Beautiful, right?
myself. So I could let go. And I remember having some flashes of just like nature because I laid down. I remember seeing the squirrel climbing up above me, and then I was just thinking about how his life was like.
Mm.
Wow, what an incredible creature. Like, we see these all the time, but we don't realize like how amazing they are. Like, it's just running up a tree, it's jumping tree branch to tree branch. And ironically, I was watching the Disney movie on my flight there, A Sword into Stone, and I
All
just
right.
got done watching the part where he turned into a squirrel. So that was kind of going on in my head. And
Okay.
then I was thinking, I started thinking like just like there's past lives, and I believe that our spirit has more than one life, because
Okay.
I don't feel like you just come into a body, good luck trying to find some, you know, what you're supposed to be, and then there's a heaven or hell. I just feel like that is so limited.
Mm.
And I just kept seeing myself back. I don't know what the time period was, but definitely out there in like the Afghanistan type of area, very sandy, and just kind
Okay.
of me and the magic and understanding my life and like understanding my connection with the cobra and why it kind of made me scared and why snakes were kind of scary to me. And I was like, why are they so scary?
Mm.
And
Because you don't
then,
like the idea of change.
yeah, I think that that's really what it was.
Mm.
And what had happened after that is I started thinking about my dad, and all of a sudden I could see like my mind's eye, and I could feel his energy. Because you know when you're inside of a room and then a
Yeah.
friend comes in without
Yeah.
you even seeing, like, you just know their energy, it's there.
Oh, I know it all too well.
and
Yeah.
so I had that with my dad, and he
Mm.
comes up and comes forward and just tells me what happened like last night when you were trying to leave is a part of your was a part of your process.
Mm.
Just like what happened the last few months when I was here was a part of your process. And you becoming who you need to be and who you are today is exactly who you're supposed to be, but you couldn't have went through that transformation without all that intensity. So quit holding on to that weight and wishing you're someone else. Know you are the person who you want to be today, and I am with you.
Oh.
And that release, there's not really many words I can put into it other than like this weight off of me. And I remember crying and just so happy to be there. And the feeling like this journey onto me coming here, this is what it was about this release. And I felt that pain from that night before, like how, you know, that was like almost like the universe testing me, like, are you willing to commit to the transformation?
Oh, I see.
And feeling that and going through all that and feeling his presence, all the rest of my time outside was just like a joy of reflection of, wow, this is so beautiful. This world, this planet we are on is so beautiful.
Right.
And I could finally let go fully and let my spirit to just like be that kid again that I am within. And I think that that's like the biggest takeaway for me on everything else is let that child within shine forth.
Yeah. Kids
And
do such thing with such reckless abandon. They're
yes,
inexperienced, but they're not stupid.
exactly. They're just
Yeah.
authentic. They're honest.
Yes.
The honesty from a kid is amazing. And so I just was able to really let go and have that all just kind of flow state. And I remember laying back, and I've been doing different workings with different spirits and different shamanic, like different animals. And I'm thinking, so what is my next spirit animal I should work with? And I always kept thinking bald eagle. But you know, I there's the mind, and then there is tapping into the infinite. So it's like, is this creator driven or is this ego?
Right.
I'm laying back, and all of a sudden I see the biggest great white eagle flying right over.
And that's
Over
interesting.
me.
That's interesting because I didn't even see it.
It was crazy because where I was at, there was trees everywhere, but there was like this like oval space where the sun was just shining through, and that's where it flies by, like right when I'm just laying down, and it doesn't circle, it just flies right by, and I'm like, wow. Wow. And at that point I wish I had my journal on me, but I mean, I ended up having it on me the next ceremony, but I was like, make sure you have your journal on you, so anything that comes to your mind that you can write it down. But I will be honest, writing on ayahuasca is just hard. Like conversating on ayahuasca. Like,
yeah,
it's possible, it can be done, but it has a little bit, you know, intensity to it. But
you need like a stenographer.
Yeah, exactly.
A psychic stenographer to like write down everything.
But yeah, towards the ending of it all, you know, there was a lot going on. I heard the laughter, which towards the end, man, the laughter had me laughing so much. And
it was contagious.
I remember I was like, you know what? Like, it's super sunny. I need to put on my sunglasses. And simultaneously, with my buddy next to me, we both, without even seeing each other, put on our sunglasses and then look at each other at the same time. And we look and we're like, oh. And the only word we say is, damn. Like the most stoner sound in the world, dude. It was so tremendous. And like from that, I was like, this is the place. I am so thankful right now. I was so ready for this. And it ended up trailing off, and we ended the ceremony, and then we went in, and it was the first time I was able to eat food basically in 2 days. And that was awesome. But yeah, what happened with you on the second one?
Okay. So mine was kind of, I would consider like a bumpy road, where like it was kind of like you took imagine like taking a scenic route that was paved with gravel. So like, let's just say that, like, it's a little bumpy, a little rickety, but the surroundings are beautiful, you know?
Yes, yeah.
It's one of those deals where kind of the same idea here. So I go up, I take the 2 tablespoons because I'm like, this is definitely, because you can't get a booster on the morning. So be careful with your dosage. I take the 2 tablespoons because I'm like, that has to be a minimum. And depending on how I feel on the 2, that will determine my dosage for the 3rd. So maybe I'll go to 3. Oh, by the way, a little note: when you go here, the maximum you can take is 5.
Oh, 5. Really?
That's the max they will give you per ceremony. Wow. But I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna do that. But we'll.
I didn't know that, and I have a funny story for that one.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Do you send it?
Yeah. I don't know how many I took. I'm just kidding.
I'll take 5. My booster will be 5. Oh God, I can only imagine. But anyway, the thing is, so I go in, take the 2 tablespoons. We lay down on our mat. We have our blankets, any blankets you come with you, your pillow, what have you, your water. And I eventually I'm like, okay, I'm familiar now. I took 2. This is definitely going to work for me. And I get into the very powerful meditative stance, fists in hand, fists clutched together, and like, okay, focus now. Like focus on not focusing.
Yeah.
And eventually it's like, okay, and maybe just like, it doesn't necessarily have to be meditation. Just kind of let your mind wander. Let the medicine affect your thoughts. And I'm just kind of sitting there and I'm letting it go. But yet again, I kind of get that same nauseous feeling of pre-throw up already immediately. And it might just be because of I have nothing in my stomach except for the medicine. So the thing is, I'm just like, but I'm still sitting there. I'm like, no. I'm going to stay in this meditative cross-leg position and I'm going to do this. But I look, because like everyone else is doing this here too. Not everyone, but most people seem to be doing that. That works. And I'm really trying to focus. And this time, when I had my eyes closed, I was kind of sort of getting those geometric shapes and stuff. The imagery I was kind of getting wasn't super vivid and vibrant. It was almost like you were looking through a like a tinted window, but you saw like shapes.
Yeah.
It kind of like, have you ever been to like an African like bazaar, an Indian bazaar, and you no, it's kind of like you ever seen like African or like Indian like artwork where like kind of like they have like a lot of the dots and like the circle, like a lot of like spirals and stuff, but it's kind of simple, but it's like it makes like animals and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw kind of stuff like that, like artwork, like like kind of like an artistic dots of like a giraffe or something like that. But eventually, it was pretty minimal though, and I felt like I was causing it to happen instead of just letting it. And the thing that happened too was the same issue with circulation. I think I was putting too much weight on my legs, and I think circulation was starting not to go numb, but I think I was restricting it in my legs, and the rest of my body was kind of trying to compensate for it. And now being on this intense drug, you're going to feel a little something from that.
Yeah.
So immediately I was starting to feel a bit of like a nausea coming up, but it was less nausea than before. So I'm like, if you throw up, you're coaxing it. Don't do that. But just in case, I was like, get the puke bucket in front of you, be preemptive. Yeah. But the thing that kind of was going through my mind was like, I don't necessarily have to. And one idea though, going through my mind was, I don't want to. Like, and I think this is where a big lesson came with me really early in the ceremony. And that was the lesson of vulnerability. It was, I didn't want to puke because I didn't want to be the first one to puke. I didn't want to look weak. I didn't want to look like I was I couldn't take it. I didn't want to look like I was I wasn't as competent or able. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to allow myself to look like that. And I think that was deep down, I have to admit it. I think subconsciously I knew that's what I was doing and why. And I think the thing is, while that was happening, I was starting to get like kind of like a panic attack. I was seeing like a double helix that was kind of like a ladder that was approaching my perspective, and I was feeling sicker, and I was like, what the hell is going on? I'm starting to kind of panic a little here. Like, what the hell? And I was like, I think it might be your blood flow. Okay, lay down. But before I did that, all the songs up to this point have been phenomenal ever since the first ceremony and the second ceremony. But this one song comes on, and it's this very low gurgle like mantra, like this, and it's like it's got this like electronic beat over it too. That's very kind of dark and stuff I do listen to, but it's like it's invoking this feeling of disgust, and it just was centering itself in my torso, in my gut, and my abdomen. And I was like, oh no, like it makes me want to puke, but there's like no ability to puke. And I'm like, what am I going to puke up? I have nothing. I have nothing to offer. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I'm freaking out here. I'm like, I think like lay down now. And you know your limits. You're only going to suffer from here on out. And I think you're suffering for no reason. Lay down, get on your side. And I almost felt like I had not gone into a fetal position, but I just kind of laid on my side as like a side sleeper would sleep, covered myself up because I was getting cold. And I was just kind of staring off or closing my eyes because I'm like, it's freaking me out. What's going on here? And it's like, it'll subside. Just calm yourself. What the heck's going on? Don't focus on what it is. Just let it be or whatever. And maybe I was just ignoring it or what have you. And I was supposed to learn something from it. But it soon subsided, and I was like, wow, that was intense. Wow. And I think in retrospect, what it was, I felt kind of bad soon after, because I thought to myself, like, Josh, I think Mother Ayahuasca there was trying to teach you a lesson about vulnerability. And I had this idea initially that, well, you failed it. You failed the lesson it was trying to teach you. it was supposed to show you that it's okay. If you need to throw up, you need to be honest with your physical limitations and what you are. No one's here to judge you. If they see that, they know that, oh, that's how you feel right now. It's not like, oh, he can't handle it, he's not competent or whatever. It's more like, okay, he's feeling this way right now, and this is how he's reacting. Okay, we understand that now. But I think in the end, it wasn't, and the first thing I thought was, you failed the lesson. But it's like, you didn't fail the lesson because you still learned it in the end. So I'm like, okay, I understand now. More honesty. Don't feel like everyone's judging you. It's fine. And what I did there was, for the rest of the time, I kind of laid there and I was just kind of thinking to myself, like, it's all right. And just look around a little bit. Maybe just I think a lot of the time, my eyes were open most of the time during this ceremony, because I was really looking at everything. And that's where kind of like the psychedelic feeling, where like you look at the ground, it's covered with fallen leaves, and you kind of look at like the veins in the leaves almost, and you just think like, how intricate, and each one of them has those veins. There's all over the place, and you just kind of it feels like the blinders I had once had are gone now. Things are more lights around, things are more vivid, more crisp. And I thought to myself, and I'm like, this is a nice place, isn't it? And the thing was too, is the day was weird because it was good weather, but it was very like, the wind was very cold, and the sun, and I was wearing like a black hoodie and like, really like black joggers and stuff like that. But I thought to myself, like, God, but that cold is that's getting me. If there's anything I just felt, I'm like, even with this blanket, I have to wear it. I feel cold. So put the blanket over me, went to the side, and I just mostly stayed in that position because I felt so relaxed, and to like just chill out and let it like work its magic. And eventually I felt to myself, like, you know what's like the only source of heat I can have right now outside this would be the sun. Where's the sun right now? Like, it's out. Where is it? And eventually there's clouds, and the trees blocking it because there's so much foliage, that eventually the sun makes its way over and shines right on me. And I think to myself, there it is. But I'm like, the sun's hot. It has heat. There's my salvation. And I think to myself, but the sun's not hot enough. It's light. It produces heat, but it's not hot enough. And I'm like, I know what I have to do. So I remembered that I had a black hoodie on. And I'm like, you know what? Black absorbs sunlight and becomes hot. I'm like, I took the white blanket off and I let my back sprawl to let the sunlight absorb into my black. Like I was becoming a solar panel and absorbing the light. And I was using that light energy not only to mentally to like kind of lighten up my my dark perspective of things, but also to soak it in. All that access energy was going to heat. So not only was it warming me, but also I was taking in positivity.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, nuts. I then started feeling, I started at this, and I was so grateful. At this point, I was like, the only thing that like kept going through my mind was the image and the idea of a chameleon. And I was like, chameleon? I've loved chameleons for the longest time, but I haven't given them much thought for the longest time. And I thought to myself and I'll get to this, the subject itself is the idea of visualizing animals and the significance of animals in life. They represent something in multiple cultures, so you should always consider them. And I thought to myself, yeah, just like a chameleon right now, you're adapting to your surroundings. You felt cold, so you utilized your own environment and your own person to survive. And I'm like, wow, like a chameleon. And so I'm like, that was nuts. So I left it over. I just kind of like kept it on my leg, like the blanket on my legs, and just let my back do all the work. So I'm like, that's great. And then I was still just like kind of just still and just analyzing, letting my mind wander. And I even looked up every so now and then, so the sun didn't get in my eyes. And I saw a hawk come over, and I thought to myself, wow, that's how appropriate that is. Because where I live, right, there's a lot of hawks in the nearby suburban area because of all the rabbits. But however, there's one lone hawk that always wanders around the pond outside my apartment. And I thought to myself, hawks are kind of like are supposed to be like messengers of the higher powers.
Yes.
They're supposed to be like, they're mostly kind of like, they have higher perspectives. They know where things are supposed to be. They know where you are. They're kind of like a guardian or a guider kind of in a way. So I thought to myself, if this hawk keeps hanging around my place right before I left, and now I'm here in this state out in the open, and I see a hawk flying around, I took that as a sign of, you're where you need to be right now. You're feeling what you need to feel right now. And I'm like, wow, thanks for the reassurance. Thank you.
Yes.
And the thing is, and the rest of it was good. I was just jamming to the music, just paying attention to the lyrics and what have you. And eventually, again, lost track of time, and I was just enjoying my surroundings. Eventually they called for lunch, and I'm like, yay, I need to eat. Because the thing is, at this point, I knew my body could eat, but I wasn't starving. That was the thing. I could easily just go on and not mind. It's like, I understand I feel I could eat something, but I don't even feel like hangry or anything. Like, I don't feel pissed off that I'm not eating.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go eat, but the thing is, it's like, well, if you guys are able to go eat, you can stay here if you want to, or you were serving food, whatever you want to do. And my initial intention was I want to go eat something, but I stood up and I was clearly competent. I could clearly walk and do it, but I was just still looking around. I was still on it, you know? So I felt like I don't want to go eat because I feel so dissociated that, like, I'm going to go up to there. I'm going to be like, they're going to offer me a bunch of choices, and I'm just going to stand there staring at them. And I'm like, no, I'm going to look like an idiot. You know, it's like, whatever. I'll wait a little longer when I'm a little more sober, and I'll go do it when I actually can have a, level head.
Yeah.
But I stayed there for quite a long time, and then I rest down, like, and also I feel pretty content right now. Why ruin this? So I laid down and I just kind of stared at everything. It wasn't probably until like another hour later that I stood up and like, I feel pretty good now. I'm still feeling it, but let's go. And I packed up my stuff, made my bunk again, and I was walking around going to food. That's when I met another person I met there as well, before you, a woman. I won't say her name, but she, we hit it off really well, and we had a lot of chemistry with our conversations and what we understood, and we were just going off each other's inputs and everything was
Yeah.
just really working out. Like, as you said with your friend there, like, things were just kind of playing out perfectly. Well, like, your actions were playing out. Like, me and like her were just kind of like spitballing ideas, and we were just kind of bouncing off each other's thoughts, and we were getting really in depth in our conversations, and to the point where I missed the food. so I didn't get to eat.
Wow. I didn't. Wow, dude.
Yeah, I was like, well, like, what did they serve? Like rice and vegetables. And I'm like, well, whatever, it's fine. I'll live. She was nice enough though. She's like, I have pecans if you want. So I'm like, yes, please. I'll take some pecans. I just ate some pecans. Didn't want to eat everything because even then I didn't feel like could even eat much. So I'm like, sure, and might as well. If I have a clean stuff, just keep drinking your water. You'll be nice and clean for the last ceremony.
Yeah.
And that's I'll go off right before the third ceremony on some decisions I made there, but that was definitely a weird. It was, but overall in the end, I look back at it in retrospect, and I gotta say it was a little odd, but it was extremely enjoyable, and a lot of it had to do with the nature I was in.
Definitely. And for
Yeah,
you to have that perspective to see like what Mother Aya was trying to tell you, the
yeah,
vulnerability and such.
yeah,
And that's huge. Like, that lesson, the lesson of gratitude and be bold definitely kept hitting me, like, dude, you got to speak your mind. You can't hope that people have telepathy, and know what you're
right,
saying, feeling, you know what I mean? Just
right.
express it.
Right, because that speaks a lot to me because I'm unfortunately in a place and around a lot of people who really don't give you the time of day. So it's kind of, or don't have that kind of perspective. So it's like, I can speak my mind, but it's not going to be heard. It's one of
Yeah.
those deals. So it's one thing. It's not because I think that unfortunately conditions you to think more like what I have to say doesn't matter. And it's like, well, I'll be isolated by myself because I know what I have to say does matter, but it doesn't matter to you. But that's a whole other topic. It's okay. So going from the morning ceremony, so you did eat, you said?
Yeah. I actually just told him to give me everything, and then I went over by that pond, and it said there's a rule by the pond that says take 1 minute to look up at the sky
I saw that.
and just to sit in reflection of like thankfulness. And I was like, I'm just gonna sit here by myself. Like, I can talk to people, but honestly, I just want to sit here. And till that moment, I didn't realize there's lotus flowers everywhere in that
Yeah.
pond. And so then I was sitting there looking at those. I was like, dang, dude, like, I'm gonna be able to blossom. Like, I feel so good right now and feel the weight so gone right now. This is tremendous. And I won't talk too much into it, but the integration that you have with everyone inside like your hut,
Yeah,
when
the
everyone talks
Malolka.
about their whole thing, that was beautiful. By the
The
time that
integration, after the morning ceremony.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was just hearing people's stories, their things they were going through, and then how there's like a kind of consistent type of, at least inside of our hut, like underlying thing, like being present in the moment was the biggest thing of everyone's lesson they were learning. and there are people telling their stories, and I was crying because you can feel their energy, and I just started really building that community. Like at that point, after the second session and then that talk, I was pumped up. I'm like,
Right.
all right, this third night's great. And then they said, whatever you thought, you should definitely increase your dose tonight. And so I remember before that third ceremony, all I could say was my intention to Mother Aya was, you literally have now released the weights I've been carrying.
Oh.
I am going to do this and just celebrate. Like I'm literally going in on this. So I started off with 3 tablespoons.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, all right, I'm going to need that. And then we'll see what that hits. And so I remember sitting there and just ideas started flowing. Like first, it was like just my appreciation for everything. Then I was seeing people, and when I look at them, I could feel their energy, like very much so.
Yep.
And I was loving it. And then I got to like the point where I'd shut my eyes, I could soul travel places. Like, there were different spirits I've worked with in different pantheons. And I think about one, and next thing you know, I'm in their realm with them, and I'm having a conversation and appreciation. And then I think about, I had one of she wasn't really related, but I called her my sister who passed away.
Okay.
I started thinking, all of a sudden she came to my mind, and then she started talking to me for a bit. And then I'm thinking about this spirit, and then I'm thinking about this place, and I just was bouncing everywhere. And then I hear people laughing in the room, and then I'm laughing. Everything is hilarious. And I'm just like really in the zone. And all I could do, like there was a point where I had to grab my journal because I was like, this is just, everything's hitting me at once. So I'm starting to write up, and it feels like, kind of drunk, kind of in a feeling. I'm like, but I can keep writing. And then this lady, one of the ladies in the room comes over and brings me a light. I'm like, thank you so much. I'm like, geez, there's so much consideration in here. And then like 5 minutes later, she brings me another one. She's like, this one's brighter. And I'm like, holy smokes. I can't believe it. And
they did the same thing for someone in my tent, my Maloka as well, actually.
Yeah. Dude, they were on it. They're just like, here, we're here to help. And I just felt the love. And then I was like, it was like I was dancing with Mother Aya. The only way I could put it was like dancing in a mystical forest, where her and I are laughing, everything's great. And all of a sudden I hear the gong, and they're like, time to do another thing if you'd like more.
I need to ask, when they asked for the booster, did anyone get up?
There was like, I'd say out of my camp, there's maybe like 3 people of the 16.
Okay.
And as I'm waiting in line, as I get up, actually, I'm like, okay, am I on a ship right now? Because my walking is funny. And I'm like, you know what, though? That's fine. And I get in line. And as I'm sitting there, I'm staring into the fire. And like, literally, my face is just like, like I can't get rid of the smile. And my turn's ready to come up. I'm looking at the fire. And I'm like, I'm going to do 2. I'm going to do 2 more. So I'm going to get, 5 altogether. Okay. And I didn't know what the limit was. But as it's about to be my turn, I hear Mother Aya's voice saying, look, you can handle yourself. Yes. Right. But if you do 2, it's going to be more than what you think it's going to be. So only do 1.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay. I'm not even fighting that. That you told me. So I only do the 1. And I get back and sit down, and before I drink it, I want to give my own Thanksgiving.
Right.
And my stomach's like, dude, you got to puke. I'm like, dang. So do I take this and then puke? No, I'll just sit here, whatever. So I'm like trying to sit there. Like I'm literally like smiling like over my puke bucket. Like this is the greatest experience in the world. And I know I could sense and like,
oh boy, I get the puke.
My buddy across the way, they were looking at me, and I could tell like they're like staring at me. And I'm like, dude, I want them to just see like how fun it is. And just, I'm going to puke. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait, do I have to puke? Well, I'm not going to force it. And I know I need to drink this, whatever. If I puke this all up, then okay, that's whatever. I don't really care. Like, I'm at this point, I am on the roller coaster of a fiesta, and I do not care. I was like, all right, let's take it down, drink it, and drink my water. And I sit back. And I just remember from then on out, dude, I sat up against the wall, had one foot out and my knee was up. And I felt like I was so solidified in my being and my essence. Like I was my spirit in the body. There was no ego. It was just me. And I just was so full of joy just seeing everyone there. And I remember looking out at the helpers, and one of my, I forget his name, but him specifically, he was getting the fire set, constantly going up to people, putting on blankets.
Yep.
And then outside the door, like it was cold that night. And for them, they're just sitting there, like people like doing that, but yet there's so much joy.
Oh, that was a cold night. That was so cold. So
cold, dude. And I just was so full of joy, dude. Like I felt so perfect. The actual like morphing of things around me was starting to occur. Yeah. And I remember looking over and I saw the lion's face and I'm like, Orias, that is you, buddy. I know you're here. And thank you for being here. And I just remember just sitting in that reflection. And then my buddy across the way was having a rough time, just like really like, and when people would walk by and he would ask for help, it was like dude, at the last, like they didn't see him, like they literally couldn't see him. And I could feel his pain. And I was like, dude, I got to do something. Wait, they told me I can't do anything. Wait a second. Okay, I know what I'm going to do. So I just like raise up my bucket. My Brandon walks in and I'm like, man, I don't know how I articulated this, but I was like, look, I know you guys have been, helping out everyone, but he just please go check in on him. Just please. And then he ends up going over and talks to him. And then Brandon comes back to me and he's like, thank you, bro. Like, thank you for doing that. Let me know. And like, after that, dude, I turned around so I would just be facing the wall, the tapestry the rest of the time, because I was like, I need to focus in on just like myself. But I finally felt a release and I could feel the love and light and everything else that like he needed him to come over there just to make sure to be like, are you okay? And then he's like, I'm good. Thank you for showing me that. And one thing I did notice was the guy who was snoring next to me. This second that night he wasn't snoring, but when he was going into the ceremony, and this is just kind of a forewarning for everyone.
Sure.
It's not, don't go there to just go have a trippy experience. Definitely not. And not showing respect to Aya, because that was kind of his energy kind of about it. And I was talking to him and, it just kind of had that, like, I'm here to be like getting tripped out. And then like when he drank the stuff, he did like a big burp and I'm like, dang, dude, like that's not respectful. And and so as I was laying there, I remember like I said something out loud to myself, like, because I thought it was 7 a.m. because I watched the moon from here go all the way around. I'm like, it's 7 a.m. I checked the clock and it says 3 o'clock and I'm like, dude, what the heck? It's only 3. And then the guy next to me sits up super fast, grabs his stuff and just rolls his bed out and takes off and leaves, like walks out. And I didn't see him the rest of the time. And I'm just like, I don't know what happened to him. And I hope that he had a beautiful experience as I did that night prior when I left and was like, no deal. But I just remember him doing that. And I'm like, dang, man, like, there's a respect and love you have to have at the plant. But the rest of the night was absolutely phenomenal. I got no sleep. I didn't need sleep. I remember going to the bathroom multiple times after that because my body was like, we're getting you clean and clear. And then, I ended up, having some great conversations. And that's where I met you, was that morning after. And I remember taking a hot shower and then coming out into the coldness. And then you and I just started hitting it off, talking. The next thing you know, dude, I don't know how long we were talking, but I feel like if it could have just went on for years, dude, because it was so good. And then I just had that appreciation. And my buddy ended up driving to the hotel that I met, and him and I did like a little interview. I would drive there and just hearing about our experiences and how we felt. And really all I could do is just tear up just more and more. And I ended up picking up my buddy at the airport, and it just really was beautiful. And I ended up later on my one trip, the Cocoa Beach, I ended up going to this place, this Rep Jungle Adventures place, where on our way in, I said to my friend, dude, if I get the opportunity to hold a snake, I'm doing it, and hold me to it.
Okay.
And I ended up, they had a crocodile I held, there
Okay.
was a snake I held, and a
Wonderful.
tarantula I held.
Oh my.
And that cannot believe I did, but I was like with the mother eye and my appreciation for these animals. And then it was funny because as we were walking around every night, we do like a 6-mile walk on the beach. And we're walking around, I was thinking about a snake. And I was like, dude, every animal deserves their right here on this planet. Just as I do, just as you do, they do too. And as we're getting up to our hotel room, right outside our hotel room was a 2-yard rat snake just sitting out there, dude. And my buddy, of course, went to go touch it, and then it slithered away. But I was like, wow, like my appreciation for plants, animals, and every person our interaction with was just so many synchronicities and beauty with it. And it really was a reflection. And yeah, tell your story, and then let's give our last word that we gave. And I do have to wrap it up at 3:20 and probably be done with this at 3:25. I don't know where the time went, dude. And I wish I didn't have to do my DOT today because I could sit here for 4 more hours. I swear, dude. Like,
Ditto. I mean, that's the thing, though. It's like, but if we didn't have time constraints, it would go on forever.
I know, dude.
That's the thing. It's because there is a lot to say. Ironically, there is a lot to say, and we haven't even gotten to the connections yet. Like even what you said too, like you felt your friend, was struggling, and you were right. I don't know what it is, but the DMT in it, we sometimes I really do think humans really came from the same strand of DNA. So it may be so diluted in ability in us because we come so far in life, but I think we inherently do have the ability to kind of understand the place and have the intuition where someone is in reality. We just have been it's just so unused that we don't even like consider it. I think DMT kind of lets you tap in and activates that without you actually doing anything.
Yes.
And I do have to agree that that guy, I emphasize the same thing with you. If that guy was there just to trip balls and stuff, it's another psychedelic drug. You don't go do ayahuasca. No. If you want to do shit like that, go do DMT. All right, that's not for you. Ayahuasca is definitely a healing medicine that's going to help you out. And I'm hoping that when that guy left, I'm hoping he had a realization of, yeah, buddy, you don't belong here. You're like, you should go clean up your act, then come back.
Yes,
absolutely. So I'm hoping that's maybe what that was. So the thing is, so here's what happens with the third ceremony for me. So here's the ironic part. So you got to remember in the morning ceremony, I did 2 tablespoons. That definitely worked. I have to at least do 2. So, but I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, we're already, you have to choose your dosage. What's it going to be? It's definitely not going to be 5. But I'm like, well, 2 was intense. I could just do 2 again, but I'm not really pushing myself. I'm not really, you came this far, might as well endure it. It's like, you're going to live through it. So, but just don't overtask yourself. And I'm like, how about 3? Like 3, but I did just have kind of a pretty intense experience. Like, would 3 be pushing it? And like, so, and you gotta remember, the thing that's cool about Soul Quest too, to anyone out there, is that, they will do quarters, half doses included. So you can do 2.5, 2 1/4, 2 3/4. They'll do that for you. Because sometimes that's all you need. The thing is, I thought about it. I'm like, 2's too little. I'm afraid 3 might be too much. I was really thinking 3 though, but I'm like, 2.5? Like, at least just push it, because, but then I thought to myself, and I was really stuck between it, and I went to like a little wooden rocker, like a little place where you can sit and kind of be isolated and not be bothered, because I wanted to be alone with my thought for there. I'm like, your thoughts are going everywhere right now, but there's one thought you need to think about it. And what is this dosage going to be? So I thought to myself, long and hard, 2 and 3, 2 and 3. And I look up, and this little they have these private cabins, right? That are labeled right by the showers near the pond. And I looked up in front of me, and wouldn't you know it, but there were 2 cabins in front of me that were labeled 2 and 3.
Oh my gosh, dude.
And I'm like, unbelievable. Like, I feel like that was like, is this just a sick joke or what? I'm like, and I'm like, well, that doesn't help me. That doesn't give me an answer. But there was something that did tip me off. In the middle of those 2 little cabins was a naturally growing like plant, like a big like thing of pampas grass or a ficus or whatever it is, like a big ground plant that was growing, thriving in between these 2. these two cabins. And I thought to myself, that's plant, and this is plant medicine. 2.5 it is.
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
dude.
right in the middle.
Wow.
Yeah. So like that, I'm like, so I've up to this point, I've been very, a very Taoist approach to life, very go with the flow, take signs and symbols as it goes. The world will give you what you need. You got to do work too, but it will give you little hints. So take them. And that was that big hint there. Like go 2.5, push yourself, but don't overdo it. So later that night, to do the same thing, I say 2.5, please. We do the whole thing, drink it. And this time, however, I learned to be honest with myself. Like, Josh, you can't do the meditative pose. Your circulation gets messed up. It's just like the weight of your legs. I mean, I have a very healthy body, but I think I have a lot of weight in my legs that cuts it off. So I'm like, this time, lay down. You're going to lay down. You're going to meditate there. You're not going to fall asleep. Your mind's too awake for that. So I lay down, and then they start putting the Icaros on. And I think to myself, this is the best mix they have so far. This is so calming, so peaceful. And this is when everything changed. Before I mention what happened, the you know how they did the integration beforehand? They asked you like, what did you feel so far? What do you expect? I told them that like early on when we were talking about the same thing. Like, I'm here because I'm a little confused. I think I'm doing things because I can, not because I want to. What do I really want? Mental healing and such. And I get a really weird question from Tom when I was there, my supervisor. And he asks me, like, Josh, are you afraid to die? And I'm like, that's an odd question. Like, yeah. I would say if anyone's living, I say, yes, I would be a natural fear of death. I don't want to die. Like physically, I don't want to die. If I come here for healing and I die from the healing, there's no point of the healing. So like, yeah, I don't want to die, please. And it's like, it's just natural fear. I don't get the question, but anyway, I just want to point that out. So, but the thing is, now the third ceremony, now the 2.5 start kicking in. Now, where there's a booster, I'm like, if I feel it, I'll go up and get like probably another 1 tablespoon just to prolong it, or just to push over that 3. So, but when the effects start kicking in, the same thing kind of happened with you. I was looking up, and at the top of the Moloka, that like spray, that like impact like spray foam that hardens at the top there to insulate. I was looking at that, and with all the little like imperfections and lines that in between like the globules and stuff, that's when I was starting to get a major like psychedelic effect, and they were forming and molding into each other in a waveform like fire. Like, imagine if you put like a picture, like an image of like a video of fire, and you put it on slow-mo. That's like kind of the idea of it, like constantly moving, but just so in like unpredictable of its movements. And I thought to myself, wow, it's that meshing kind of look. And the thing is, the body feel, I felt so blissful and so relaxed. I felt like the feeling when people describe like an opiate, like, the opiates and stuff, like heroines and stuff like that, how it makes you feel like your body is so high and relaxed and kind of numb in a good way. I felt like the description of those. And I was like, oh shit, it's like, this is what they describe that stuff to be, but I'm not even on it. This is great. And I was very peaceful, not only in body, but peaceful in my thoughts. Like, my thoughts are going to wander, but I was okay with it. And my thoughts were coming up with answers. Like, the idea of it too was like, I was with Mother Ayahuasca. I was kind of thinking of like Mother Ayahuasca, and it's like, well, Mother Ayahuasca, it looks like you're going to be my guide here. So it's like, well, first thing, I'll give you answers, but what do you want to ask? I'm like, oh shit, I didn't think I was going to get this far. So like, okay. So I just thought to myself, okay, well, what about my sense of person? Who am I? What am I to do? What am I interested in? What am I good at? I tried to even ask what ghosts were at some point. I don't think I really got a good answer with that though. And Mother Ayahuasca, I feel like, is great in that she is not to be disrespectful, but she's kind of a bro. She's kind of like, well, she kind of accommodates to you and how you understand communication. Like, kind of like, instead of a hug, she'll kind of go for a fist bump kind of thing. Like, yeah, I'm here for you, man.
Yeah, 100%. And every person, she definitely, it's different, because it's like, oh, with you, you're going to be able to understand this and see things at this eyes. We're going to have to do it more analytical and such. And that's what's really magical, is it's not just it is just a medicine, but it also has its own presence behind it, its own spirit within it. And that's why it's like you can't just do it and hope to get trippy, because you also have this spirit there that's like, if you're coming with disrespect, you're going to be, you know, disrespected. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So the thing is I would ask her and I'd be like, just feel like, hey, just kind of a blissful state of like, this feels really great right now. I'm like, thank you for this. I'm very grateful, and I haven't felt this way in a long time. And I think to myself, well, this is a good time to just answer questions, and I think to myself, answer questions like, who am I, whatever. And I always had this idea, like, I didn't know if it was my thoughts or my thoughts. She was influencing my thoughts to deliver her message. And it was kind of like I'd answer a question, and she basically would be like, I don't have the answer for that right now. Go think about something else while I think about that, and I'll get back to you. Like, okay. So I just go off trailing on other thoughts and ideas I had, think of other questions. And eventually my thoughts would kind of slowly integrate and come together and then click. And I'm like, I have the answer now. Oh, I get it. And I'm like, thank you, Mother Ayahuasca. But I had this idea that like, she's just kind of sitting there like, you're welcome, man. Like, I didn't really do anything, but yeah. She takes all the credit, but she's still being humble. Like, yeah, that was totally me. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. So sometimes I thought to myself, like, I think the answer's in you, but don't start thinking about that yet. Let's continue this on. And one of the biggest things I felt like the form, I had no intention to puke this time around. The only thing I felt like I avoided was my tears. And I wasn't bawling like a child or a baby. It was more or less my eyes got watery and they started just dripping down my face. And it felt like I had this triumphant cry. Like, it was just like, I am who I am. And again, that same idea of a chameleon came up through my head. And it's like, I think your totem animal is actually not a spider, it's a chameleon.
Wow.
And the reason as to why it is because the reason why, Josh, that you can do so many things, but you never feel in one place is because, like a chameleon is always a chameleon. It always is. It's a lizard. It looks the way it is, but yet its adaptation is to anything. Its ability to adapt to all things and to survive is what it's good at. You may not be necessarily good at a single thing, but you're kind of like a jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing. So I think you're good at a lot of things. That's why you might feel lost. It's because that's kind of what you're built to do. You're just built to do the thing, to survive and move on.
Yeah, dude, that's actually, that like is literally an answer to your, wow.
Yes, that's what I mean. Those are the thoughts that went through my head and I got the answer. And I'm like, and it's not like an answer is just, written on a piece of paper, be like, here it is. That's what's it. It's like, you'll come up with it. Don't you worry. And that gave me such a triumphant confidence and such a pleasantness and such a completion of the self that I just couldn't help but cry, be like, yeah, that's what I am. That's what I am, aren't I? And guess what? If the world disagrees with it, I gotta say, it doesn't matter, because that's what I am, and that's what I do best. And you can't. Okay, just letting you know that. So you got to deal with me. Okay, so sorry if it's not what you expect. Yep. Yeah, it's like you got to deal with me. Well, I got to deal with you, because why else would I be able to adapt?
Yeah, completely.
So I'm like, it gave me a lot of confidence in the idea of the sense of self, that just because you're not good at a very particular thing does not mean you're useless. It does not mean that you're incompetent. It just means that you're just got to do a lot of work.
So when you went into the last ceremony, when they said, what is your word for your second word, when you went through your process, did your word change?
Wait, hold on. Now, when you ask for the word, do you mean like when we all got together again in the Maloka?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the thing. I wasn't there in the second integration. I was actually talking. I was still in the place where we were bunking, and I was talking with the woman I met and the other people that slowly came in as well. The other people I bunked with, because we were so caught up with the beauty and the great connections we were making with the community around us. And so, if anything, it's before I go into that, is one other thing that was happening with that third ceremony, right, is with those psychedelic effects I was seeing.
Yeah.
A lot of times I was looking straight forward because I can think and look at the same time. Do you know those support beams at the top of the Maloka?
Yeah.
Lots of times, like, you can count them, but I would look to the side, like my periphery, and look to the side. And even though I can count them, it felt like they kept going forever. Like the Maloka was stretching like further, like a longhouse. And I was like, what? I'm like, oh, I know that's not real, but yeah, it's cool. And the thing is, I was like, I thought to myself, I'm in such a state of bliss and like answers are coming to me. I'd like, this was all worth it. And I thought to myself, I want this to keep going. And when they ask the booster, I'm definitely going to come up and get one. And they finally say, yep, hey, second cup, you know. I was like, oh, right, second cup, yay. And I just sit up and I look around and not a single person goes up to get one.
Oh,
Not a single person. I'm like, what's going on here? I'm feeling happiness. I'm hearing some tears, some crying, some laughing, but everyone's just kind of there. They're just laying down or sitting up, and they're just catatonic and just staying there. Like everyone's feeling what I'm feeling right now. I can tell. And I thought to myself, well, I wanted to continue. I want to go get a second cup. And I thought to myself, but Josh, if you stand up right now, it's a cold night. You're going to have to get your blood flowing. You got your mind is set on getting the second cup. It's cold. I was afraid I was going to shock myself out of this state and this trance I was in. And I thought to myself, no. I don't want that to end. I came this far and I got a result. Do you risk losing this to continue it? What are you continuing if you lose it? And I think a choice came to my head and I said, well, Josh, it's your choice. You don't have to. It's like, if you love what you have right here, then why not just keep it? Just because something's available does not mean you have to take it.
Yes.
And I'm like, and I thought to myself, you know what? And it was, I sat there for a good 5 minutes or whatever. And I thought to myself, you know what? No, lay back down. You're doing good. You need this right now. And that was the right decision.
Wow. Yeah, I guess I had no idea people would be saying no that second night, but I'm assuming people upped their dose that night. So then it was like, do I need it? And that's why I did the 3. I was like, this might be all I need. And honestly, I probably didn't, that additional one didn't make me go any higher up. It just made everything last longer. Like the fact that it eventually hit 6 in the morning, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I still feel it pretty heavy. They said by 10 o'clock you'll be good.
Oh yeah, I didn't sleep until like 6 a.m. because even though I was laying down, I was like, my mind's like, this one's lasting a long time. What the heck? Like, because it feels like a psychedelic. Like your brain had a workout and now it's fatigued, and it's just like, nope. The last thing I need is sleep right now. I'm too busy working. Like, go ahead. I mean, I guess I'll suffer for it when I get to the airport, but still.
Oh god.
But yeah, I just let it be. I only was able to sleep like maybe like 4 hours at most.
Yeah, and that's what I said. Like that first night, it was 5 hours when I was in that other room. But then that night when I was with everyone, like there was no sleep, but it was so much bliss. And like even I was texting I went to pull out my phone to text him to say, have a great flight, because I thought it'd be, like 6, 7 in the morning, and it's 3 in the morning. I'm like, well, I don't know what time. What is time? What is time? Put it away. But yeah, when we had our word, because that's the thing, dude. I think you were with a group of people that were walking back to the Moloka when I was leaving, because there was a gang of people there, and there was actually a couple people that I was like, wow, that person's awesome, and like, holy smokes. But I remember
everyone was talking with each other on the third morning. Everyone.
Oh, 100%, dude. That was, I felt so comfortable. And the other thing that felt great too is the flexibility. I don't want to do this. I could literally go lay on my mat. If I wanted to, I could check in and lay on that mat till it's time to check out.
Exactly.
No one's going to judge me. No one cares. Like they're like, whatever you need, you do. But my word was 100% transformation. And that's exactly what I wanted. The weight to be gone, to be a new being, and to be able to walk forth as someone I could appreciate and love, as well as give that love and appreciation to everyone, because you definitely have a more compassionate heart because you have a higher understanding of yourself, which then makes you be able to understand others more and hear them and feel their energy too. And that's it's not just through that little gap in time you have this a different mind state and you leave. Obviously you have to integrate it, and eating better now is a part of my integration, and just that holding on to that appreciation to how I felt and who I became, and like that's been able to stick so much, man. And I'm
it feels
thankful.
it feels weird coming back. Like it feels like I have no obligation to eat like a lot of meat anymore. Like
Mhm.
honestly, all I eat like peanuts, crackers, and lemonade. That's been like my diet the entire time. It's just like you're getting your protein, you're getting your carbs, you're getting your fat, you're getting your vitamin C. I'm like, sure. It's just like I can eat all these other things, but I just don't feel as strong as an obligation. It's not because I'm
Mhm.
trying to starve myself. It's just like even like yesterday at Easter, they were serving like red meat and they're like, oh, do you want some sausage? I'm like, no, I really don't. I know it's good. I just don't want any. I just
Mhm.
really just don't want any.
Yeah,
Uh,
and even when I did eat unhealthy on my trip, because I was not gonna eat any trash, but
yeah,
we only had a microwave, so I was like, oh great.
yeah.
So then there was this wonderful ice cream place across the way, which is spectacular. And I was
Oh,
doing
I
that,
bet.
and I learned that dairy makes me congested and makes it so I can't even stay up. Like, I mean,
Oh,
I will be staying up because I can't sleep because it can mess with my breathing. And I was like, holy smokes, I just learned that about myself. And then the last night we were there, I went to this it was like this like bar on the pier, and I didn't get any alcohol, but I got this greasy burger and I
mhm.
felt it the whole next that night, the whole next day. And since then I'm like, dude, I am just gonna eat clean. I'm just gonna keep stuff good. I'm gonna have moderation. Caffeine will hit this limit for the day. And some days during the week, you're not gonna have any caffeine because you don't need it. You've not
Right.
needed it. I've literally can stay up for hours,
Yeah.
days, no
Like get
sleep.
get some like ginseng tea or something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It like
Exactly.
I did something similar. I think I mentioned it to you. When I was going to the airport, I'm like, well, I'm surrounded by food and I really should eat something. Oh, by the way, at the last on the last third morning, they do feed you. Do not worry. They
Yeah,
give you
yeah, and
tons
it's
of fruit,
bomb.
tons of cereal, toast, tons of grains and stuff. So I literally took I took a plate and it looks like it just this pile of fruit. I just ate that.
Oh,
But when I got there, I'm like, I do need something because I'm going to make a connecting flight. So I got like, again, I'm looking around like, there's Burger King. There's, I'm like, I can, but I really don't want to. And it's going to make me feel terrible. And I was like, there was a place that kind of like made like pizzas in real time. So I'm like, I'll take that. And I was like, but I don't want to eat anything with cheese on it because it's like the dairy. So I'm like, I'll get the barbecue chicken pizza because it's got like, it's it's like white meat and onion and I like the flavor.
yeah.
And actually it was really good. It's just like I felt like though I really became super sensitive to sugar because my
Mm,
body's like, yeah, that was a lot of sugar. You should have taken that. Like it's fine. I just need something in my stomach. Okay. You
yeah.
have a long flight.
And making sure,
The
just making sure, we stay consistent on, that transformation process and getting rid of the junk stuff. So our mind can retain and stay that same way. And I
yeah.
definitely feel that. I actually got to wrap this up,
Oh, sure.
unfortunately. But
Sure.
yeah, if you can get any information for your YouTube channel and any way they can find you and follow you,
Hmm.
yeah, if you want to go ahead and just kind of give that out, that'd be
I,
great.
I will send you the link to my actual YouTube channel. I will
Okay.
warn you, I have not posted anything in like over a month because I've just had a lack of, again, the same issue that kind of popped in my head was like, I think I'm doing this more because I'm able to do it, but do I
Mm,
really want to do it? Like,
true.
I don't hate it. It's just, I feel like I kind of don't have a lot of ideas that I feel really passionate about. So why should I go out and do something and give
Yes.
people expectations? But I feel like at times like this, it's like, oh, I'll happily put it here because I want people to see this.
Mhm.
I'll send you the link to the actual channel.
Okay.
And actually, we can always do future Zoom calls and what have you, because I still
Yes.
there's plenty of connections and stuff and all the extra details
Yes, that's
that
what I was thinking too. We
that we
definitely have to have a part two because
yeah,
we just talked about the experience. We're not even talking
yeah,
about the interconnections and that stuff,
exactly.
dude. Just got
Oh,
trippy. I'm
yeah.
like, wait, am I still on ayahuasca? It's been a week.
Well, yeah, there's post Ayahuasca because we're filming this just over a week since we actually did it, so it's pretty fresh in the mind, as well
Yes.
as with after the recuperatory period. So
Mhm.
it's like one, there's the interconnections with people, the crazy spiritual connections we made with ideas and how it interacts with people's lives, interpretations on what we've seen from other people's perspectives and what that means for us and where we are currently in life. There's a ton of nitty gritty details that are so significant. So I feel like that actually ought to be willing to do that as well at a future time. Is this would be like one just being like, hey everyone, that Soul Quest exists. This is what happened to us. And then
Yes.
part two will be like, if you're curious, this is actually how significant it was.
Yes, and I know that things will continually manifest, and we'll continue to see those synchronicities as time goes. So yeah, maybe a month and a half or so, we'll hop back on here, and I'm gonna be we're gonna be hitting each other up all the time, anyways, dude. I love, and I'm so happy to have met you, Josh. Like, you were really, really awesome, dude. And
Likewise,
it was that's such a beautiful conversation then, beautiful conversation now, and everyone who's looking into it, look into Soul Quest, and know that it will be a transformation for you, for the greaterment. Absolutely.
Ditto. Thank you. Same thing for you, man. It seems like you really, I'm just glad that you actually went through it all. It looks like you had your own little journey there. That was quite intense.
Yeah, I know it was. And the one line I said when I was leaving was, "Thank God you guys gated it up." And I was getting ready to say, when they gave me the mic, I was getting ready to say, I actually would tell you guys what you need to for sure tell people. Let them know there will be a gate that is locked. Okay. Yeah. Once you're in, you're in. But it's not Hotel California, but just be wary.
Maybe for the spirit. Maybe for that. Maybe the spirit never leaves.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.